If you set unrealistic expectations and then don't deliver, well, they're going to figure that out. Don't go all on hype. Don't overpromise. Don't make guarantees that you can't realistically keep. What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Membership Geeks podcast. I'm your host, Mike Morrison. I'm the chief geek around these parts and founder of Membership Geeks and Membership Academy, and I am so grateful that you are spending a little part of your day with me today. Whether you're a brand new listener or a long-term subscriber, you know that I appreciate the continued support, the continued listenership. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button in your podcast app. And if you've listened for a while, if you've got a moment or two, I would so appreciate if you could leave a nice, shiny 5-star review to let me know how the Membership Geeks podcast has helped you. So today I want to talk about managing your member expectations. And this is a big one because one of my favorite things with the online membership model is that there's no place to hide. If you cannot live up to what you promise your audience, if you set unrealistic expectations and then don't deliver, well, they're going to figure that out. And they're going to do that pretty quickly. And when that happens, they're going to leave. Now, when you are selling one-off products, when you have people who are selling courses or workshops, then of course, you never want to disappoint your customers, but there's not as much of a repercussion as there is with online memberships, because if you sell a course and you're charging hundreds or thousands of dollars and somebody's disappointed, then the deal's done. Yes, they might try and get a refund, but you're not necessarily relying on them continuing to pay month after month in the way that you are with a membership. Memberships are all about the long run, and if you don't meet expectations, if you let people down, if people feel like what they've been sold isn't what they're receiving, then they're not going to stick around beyond their first month. And that's no good for us as membership owners, because the money in memberships is made from getting people to continue paying month after month, year after year. So you need to make sure that you are setting realistic expectations. So here are my tips on doing that. First and foremost, don't overpromise. That's the simple one. It's very tempting as not just a membership owner, but as anyone who sells anything online, to really ramp up the hype, right? To promise that you have the best solution known to man, that you can fix every problem, that you can deliver even the most dramatic of transformations. And you might have some case studies, you might have some clients or members where you have actually helped them accomplish mind-blowing things. But when you really go all in on promising that you've got the secret formula, that you've got the magic sauce, the guarantee that is going to get people results, then you're setting yourself up for failure. I like to call this magic beans marketing, where you really kind of take advantage of the fact that the average customer is easily seduced by a promise. They're easily seduced by someone saying they have the proven shortcut. They, and only they, have the secret to success. I'm sure you've seen this yourself as a recipient of other people's marketing. There's always someone coming along saying that they've figured it out. I've got the secret formula. I've discovered this guaranteed strategy, this newfangled tactic that is delivering results like never before. And it's seductive as a customer, because as humans, we're hardwired to look for patterns, for formulas, to shortcuts. We're hardwired to be drawn in by the idea that there is a simple formula we can follow to get a guaranteed result. And there are plenty of marketers, plenty of businesses online who will very, very happily make use of that to manipulate within their marketing. Now, this isn't suggesting that if you go out there and say, hey, I've developed this program that is very effective, or, I'm confident that I can help you accomplish incredible things. Like, this isn't to say that you shouldn't have confidence behind both the methodology or the results that you can deliver through your membership. But you definitely need to thread the needle carefully between doing that and making outlandish claims, promising that you have the secret, that you and only you have uncovered this magic formula. So don't go out there selling magic beans. Don't make these kind of wild guarantees and promises, because of course there's no such thing as a guarantee. There's no such thing as certainty when it comes to anything you're selling, anything you're teaching. There simply isn't, regardless of whether you have confidence or not. But if you are setting the expectation that literally everyone in any circumstance can join your membership and accomplish these incredible results, then you're going to have a big portion of your members who end up disappointed. Because so much, particularly with a membership, relies on them doing the work. It relies on certain things in their life or their situation being optimized, being in the right place for them to actually make use of what you're teaching, what you're helping them with. There is no one size fits all in business. If there was, we'd all be multi-billionaires, and it just doesn't work like that. And even if you have a track record of accomplishing success for yourself and for clients, there are factors within those stories that you did not control. And even if you are genuinely the holder of a super secret formula, any patterns, any tactics that are particularly effective that other people haven't figured out, once people get wind of this, once people start following those patterns, those tactics become less and less effective. So this is all just to say, don't go all on hype, don't overpromise, don't make guarantees that you can't realistically keep, and don't set expectations so incredibly high that the only outcome is going to be disappointment, because you can't guarantee results. Even with the best membership in the world, it still relies on your members doing the work, and that just negates the idea of any secret formula or any magic beans you might be selling. So one of the best ways to manage expectations: cut back on the hype, be real, be realistic, don't promise things you can't realistically deliver, and don't manipulate your audience into thinking, oh wow, someone's got magic beans, they can change my life. Next thing that you can do to manage expectations is to be clear about who your membership is and is not for. You will not be for everyone. You will not be able to help everyone, nor should you try to. There will be some people who are much better positioned to get more from your membership than others. There'll be some people who absolutely should not join your membership. Perhaps they're just too early stage, or maybe even the opposite. Maybe they're too advanced. And there will be some people who have the right mindset, have the right circumstances, have the right goals, they're at the right place, where they are in the best possible position to make the most of your membership. But being clear about this and being brave enough to actually front and center say, there are some people this membership is not for. And if you're one of them, please don't join yet. Or please check out these other ways in which I can help you. Again, it's just making sure that you don't have a mismatch between the people you can legitimately help and the people who are not right for your membership. Your membership will thrive when you're attracting more of the right kind of people. Again, you need to think about the long run. You need to think about whether the people you are bringing in are likely to be here in 6 months, be here in 12 months. And so if you're just kind of going for sales at any cost, if your ideal member is whoever will pay you, then you're going to see much higher churn, much worse retention, because if you're letting people in who really have no business joining your membership, either they just don't have the right mindset, they aren't aiming towards the sort of things your membership can help with, they are too early or at a different place in their journey from where you come in, then that's just going to result in people figuring out that this isn't the right environment for them, and then, of course, leaving. So highlight who your membership is and is not for. Don't be afraid to put people off joining your membership and to tell them explicitly, this is not for you. Because then you can double down on the people your membership actually is for. You can ensure that the experience is better optimized towards them, so they're more likely to get results. If they get results, they're going to stay. If they stay longer, you make more, they advocate more, and everything is so much better. So managing those expectations, again, starts with clarity and being clear who your membership is and is not for. Something else that really works well for managing expectations is showing people behind the scenes. And memberships can be a little bit of an abstract product. It's not always easy to understand what you're getting when you're joining a membership. Usually because there's so many facets to it. This isn't a one and done product. This isn't just a course or a workshop. This is a continuous living product. And so there will be content, there'll be community, there'll be access to you, there'll be various different resources you have in, and so many different benefits and ways in which you can help your members, that the feature list ends up getting quite long in some cases. And so you then face the dilemma in your marketing of, well, do I bore people to death just reeling through all the features and benefits? Or do I just talk about how great the membership is as a whole? So you end up talking about not just the things in the box, you end up talking more about how great the box is. This is the best membership for this. If you want to accomplish this, you need to be in the membership. And so your product becomes very abstract. People aren't always sure what they're actually buying into, what it's going to look like, what they're actually getting from a tangible perspective. So showing people behind the scenes, whether it's with behind the scenes videos, whether it's giving them samples of some of the content, whether it is explicitly sharing publicly on your social channels a schedule of content or events that are coming up, so people can really understand what is in the box, what goes on behind the scenes, and they can actually see what the membership looks like. That can really help set expectations, because again, if you're just buying a box and you don't know what's in it, it's kind of like Schrodinger's membership, right? So if you can peel back the curtain, you can show people behind the scenes, that goes so far towards setting more realistic expectations that are grounded around the reality of what someone's going to get when they join the membership, rather than them just guessing or speculating, or, they just know that they're buying a really nice box and then they find out once they've actually crossed that hurdle of joining the membership. So show people behind the scenes to really help set those expectations. Something else to do, again, kind of in line with selling the magic beans, within your marketing, within your positioning, don't overdo it when you focus on your audience's pain points. So a big thing in marketing is obviously to look at the problems, the pains, the challenges, the frustrations that your audience have, and center your marketing around those. And that's a good thing in many ways, because, you can show your audience, listen, I understand what you're struggling with. I understand the problems you have. I've been where you've been. And that is why I created the membership, right? You're having this problem. You've got a headache. Hey, look, I created a fantastic painkiller. So focusing on pain points is an effective and common part of marketing, but it can be overdone. You need to balance this out a little bit, because if you are constantly jabbing at them about how terrible things are, how much they're struggling, how painful this all is, then the whole buying decision becomes increasingly emotional. The more emotionally driven the buying decision is, the more likely it is that the expectations become a little disjointed, because rationality and logic sometimes go out the window. If you're really, really needling at someone's trauma, the things that are keeping them up at night, and that's pretty much all encompassing within your marketing, then every time you're doing that, you are ramping up their expectations. Because of course you wouldn't be hammering them about their pain and their trauma if you didn't have one heck of a solution for that. And then those expectations just get to a point where nobody could ever meet them. So don't overdo it. on needling at those pain points. Again, it's a little manipulative in the way that some people do this. There's nothing wrong, and in fact, it's a positive thing to demonstrate an understanding of your audience's problems and challenges in order to give context to the solution that you're providing. If you show that you can speak your audience's language, then that affinity, that trust comes from that. But when you are really, really overdoing it, when you are jabbing and jabbing and jabbing at the things that really, really cut to the heart of what they're struggling with, then you do risk those expectations getting a little bit overblown. Something else that's worth doing if you want to keep expectations in check is to make sure that your pricing strategy is in line with what you're actually offering. You know, there's a commercial here in the UK, it may well be around the world, for Stella Artois, which is beer or lager. I'm sure someone will correct me on which of those it is. And the tagline is reassuringly expensive. So this notion that something being higher priced is naturally just higher quality is a dangerous one. It can be something used to great effect, but it's dangerous in terms of the actual expectations that it will set. Because, of course, if somebody's paying hundreds of dollars for a membership, when most memberships are going to be priced at around the $50 a month mark, then they are going to expect a heck of a lot for their money compared to what a typical membership would offer. So generally, when it comes to online memberships, any that are priced above $100 per month, there is almost always going to be an expectation of a certain degree of access to you or facilitation from you or your team. So if you're just kind of providing the exact same sorts of things that memberships charging 30 or 40 bucks are providing, then that's probably going to be a problem in terms of misaligned expectations. People will make an assumption about what they're going to get, how much access, how much exclusivity, how much direct support they will get from your membership based on your price. Again, it makes sense. The more you pay, the more you expect to get. People who are paying hundreds or thousands of dollars, they expect to get a higher caliber of content, materials, and training. They expect to get more direct and more intimate support from you. They expect to get to where they want to go faster, more effectively, and more successfully than they might do in a membership that costs $20 a month. So make sure that your price for your membership actually reflects the legitimate value of that. Pricing doesn't really have a logic to it. There isn't one set formula, particularly for memberships. So much is subjective, but there are some generalities when it comes to memberships. And as I said, with memberships, as soon as you get into the $100 and above, you do tend to find it becomes more of a group coaching program. There's more expectation of access, more expectation of exclusivity, and that increases the higher the price goes. So make sure that your pricing isn't setting an expectation that your membership cannot match. Something else, a really easy thing for managing expectations, is ensuring you have a clear FAQ section on your membership sales page. So just a section on your sales page that addresses frequently asked questions about your membership. This is a really straightforward and kind of no-brainer way to preempt any misconceptions people might have. As an example, from Membership Academy, we found in the early days of the Academy, some people would join thinking they were going to get direct help, like we were literally going to build their membership for them. Obviously, that was never going to happen with what was a $40 a month membership. Like, there's no way that that would happen. But some people, certainly enough people, thought that might be included, that we started actually addressing that within the FAQs. Similarly, sometimes, no matter how clear the sales page actually is, sometimes people join thinking that it is actually membership software, that we are an equivalent to Kajabi or Simplero or Circle. And again, I'm not really sure how people would create that expectation from reading our sales page, where we very clearly say what we are and exactly what you get in there. But again, enough people had that misconception that we explicitly put it in the FAQs. So for anything that might trip members up a little bit, that's a good place to have it within your sales page, on your customer support page, and so on. But also those things that aren't quite as obvious. So again, this is where you can address questions about where people need to be in the process to really get the best out of your membership. So, again, like, I'm really, really beginner level. Will the membership be able to help me? If it can, and if actually your membership is best suited for those beginners, that's a great place to positively reaffirm that positioning. But if you know that people need to have a certain degree of knowledge, skills, ability, experience before they'd be able to get the most from your membership, being honest, being upfront, being clear about that within your sales page, within your FAQs, will really help to manage expectations. And the final little tip, particularly for handling expectations once people get into our membership, is to actually signpost the future value that members are going to receive. And by this, I mean things like tell them well in advance what the schedule for content is going to be, what new courses are going to be released in the future, what live events are coming up. Have a calendar within your dashboard that people can subscribe to, where they can see all the live Q&As, office hours, workshops, anything that you're doing. And regularly communicate to your member base about new features that are in the pipeline, new guests that you are talking about bringing in. This sort of stuff not only works wonders for retention because it is signposting that future value, it's giving people reasons to stick around, but also helps with expectations too, because when you have that consistent content schedule and when people know when things are going to happen, it removes doubt, it removes the question. If someone comes in and they go through your core content, they go through your library, and then they're left kind of thinking, okay, what's next? Like, when's the next thing going to come? What am I going to get if I stick around? What's it worth sticking around for? Having those expectations cleared up and actually saying, this is when things are going to be released. There are new workshops, there's new trainings released every week or every month. This is the next one. This is the one after that. It just creates clarity, and clarity is essential for making sure people's expectations are totally in check. It's also worth sharing this stuff publicly too, to your social media followers, to your general email newsletter, for a couple of reasons. One, it's a really good way of enticing people into your membership. Again, we talked about the fact that memberships can be very abstract. If you share the specifics, particularly specifics that have a date attached to them, so, we're doing a roundtable discussion about this particular subject and it's happening in 2 weeks' time, like, that creates a little bit of urgency, it creates a timeliness and a specificity that can be very compelling to non-members to be the thing that finally pushes them over the edge to join. But also, your members don't always make such a clear distinction about the way that you show up in their world as we do. So often as membership owners, we kind of think, okay, so these are the messages I send to my members, and these are the messages I send to market, right? So what I put on social media, well, that's for marketing. That's for bringing people into my world. That's for getting new sales. The newsletter I send to my general email list, well, that is for nurturing people in the hopes they'll become a member. But your members don't always look at things as black and white as that. Your members probably still follow you on social media. They still engage with you. They don't see your posts on there as being stuff that's not for them, right? They just see it as stuff coming from you. Quite often, people will be in your email list and they'll have an email address they use for their membership, but they'll also have a different address that they signed up to your newsletter with. And so because of things like that, and because of the fact that, exposing your non-members to what's happening inside the membership works very well, it is worth talking about the content that's coming up in the future, because your members might not have logged in for a little while, so they might not have seen on the dashboard what's happening next month. But if they spot a little graphic on your Instagram feed where you are promoting what's coming up in the coming month, then that can be the prompt that gets them re-engaged in your membership. So again, Be consistent in new additions, new content and events within your membership, and signpost that value. Share it in advance. This can not only help with setting expectations and managing those expectations, but also in keeping people engaged and enticing people to join your membership. So those are my top tips for managing member expectations, and hopefully it's clear why doing this is so important. If people come into your membership with unrealistic expectations or with uncertainty, a lack of clarity, all of these things make your job so much harder when it comes to engaging and retaining those members. It's far better to have people coming in knowing exactly what they're in store for, and then you can surprise and delight them, right? If you set your expectations sky high, there's nowhere to go after that. But if you set realistic expectations, then you can wow them a little more. Then you can surprise and delight them, and they're going to feel like they have joined the best membership in the world because you're over delivering. So make sure that you are setting realistic expectations in your membership. I promise you, it'll be far easier to engage and retain members when you do that. That's it from me for this week. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I hope you've got a little bit of insight, a little bit of inspiration for your own membership. Let me know if you're watching on video. Pop in the comments what's your favorite tip. If you're listening on the podcast, hit me up on social at Membership Geeks, pretty much everywhere, and let me know, what do you already do? What are you going to change within your marketing to make sure your member expectations are absolutely spot on? And to help you to really nail this, I put together a fantastic free resource that dives even deeper and gives specific practical tactics and examples of all the things that I've covered. You can get that for free if you head on over to membershipgeeks.com/476. Or you can get the link in the show notes. Head on over and grab that freebie for today's episode to make sure that your members are joining with the right expectations and they are more likely to stick around for the long term. Thanks again for joining me this week. I'll be back again next week with another episode of the Membership Geeks podcast. Bye for now.